Hey there, everyone. How are you doing today? Michael Zuber, author of One Rental at a Time. And what I want to do in this video is really highlight some misunderstandings about financial freedom. I've been lucky enough over the course of a 15-year journey, as documented in that book, to achieve said feat. And thus, that has allowed me to have hundreds, if not thousands, of conversations with folks that are either on the journey or hope to start the journey. I've been invited to speak in front of high school and college classes to really talk about this and really impart strategies and the like. And really, for me, those conversations are a lot like this one. Let's let's talk about some misunderstandings we have about money, about the path to financial freedom, how it is done, who can do it, all of those things. So allow me to bring up a presentation really with talking points that I share many, many times. So let me do this. Share screen. Here we go. I will make this bigger, forgive me, and get this out of the way. So again, these are some misunderstandings that I think we just need to recognize, we need to understand. I don't suspect many of us will have all of these, but we likely will have some of them. So let's get started. Probably the biggest misunderstanding I had before I started the journey to financial freedom is I assumed the more income I made, the easier it would get. And that is just flat out wrong. I should have taken the story from The Millionaire Next Door, which is a book I've read many times and read decades ago. It didn't resonate. In that book, there are plenty of examples. They talked about Dr. South and Dr. North, but right in the beginning, I think right in the introduction, it talks about big hat, no cattle. And what that means to me now is big hat equals big income. No cattle means no savings, no investments. And that's real. I lived that. I allowed my spending to match my income. I looked outwardly facing, probably pretty successful, certainly successful for a 25 or 26-year-old. But I wasn't. I was really setting myself up to work 40 hours for 40 years because I was expanding my lifestyle to match my income. And that is the biggest thing we need to get around is don't expand your lifestyle. Don't have lifestyle creep. Don't let your spending match your income. If you take nothing else from the course, that is probably the most important thing. That, and of course, talking to your kids about money. So they are set up early on a good track. So let me make it very, very clear. If you are in a family, if you're sitting around a table with 4 friends, the person who makes the most money at that table probably isn't the closest to financial freedom. I would dare guess most of the time, the person who makes the least amount of money is closest to financial freedom. And I know how hard that is to believe, and it may not be right in your situation, but allow me to impart wisdom that you will learn if you ever play Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow game. If you take the doctor or lawyer card, or attorney, I think it is, doctor or attorney, or I think there's a policeman or teacher card. If you want to get out of the rat race, I would be the teacher or the policeman every time. I don't want to be the doctor or the attorney. Their incomes are great. Their expenses are bananas. Higher income, harder to get out. Because we live in a consumer-based economy. We want the flash and dash. We want the nicer car. Shoot, we want the third car. You got 2 drivers and you have 3 cars. Probably not a path to financial freedom. Just saying. I believe the journey to financial freedom has to start with baselining where you are. As you will see in spreadsheet number 2, the big thing in that spreadsheet is you're going to go back and review what you've spent the last couple of months. Credit cards, bank statements, debit cards, checkbook, whatever it is, ATM receipts. You need to understand where the money's going. And I don't believe you can start a journey unless you know where you are. Otherwise, you're just wandering in the woods. Take the time. It's why the course was built. Document where you are. It's critical. And realize this course is not about budgeting and restricting or any of that nature. If your $12 latte habit is important to you, I'm not here to judge. Do it. Just budget it. Budget. If you need to have 2 lattes a day, awesome. Just put it in a spreadsheet. Budget it. Watch it. It's very important. I believe in what I'm really trying to do in this course is make money, spending, investing, and saving a family discussion. This might be a hope too big, a hope too far, but I'm hoping people that take this will make it a family discussion. Maybe you do it by yourself, maybe you do it with your significant other, but at some point, I hope you bring into this your kids. Now, if they're 4 or 5, maybe too young, but if they're 10 or older, I think a family discussion monthly about money is important. I know looking back on my childhood that I would have appreciated understanding how close to the razor's edge we were. It was, I was just left to guess. I could just look at my mom's face and see if money was good or money was bad. That was stressful. And unfortunately, I carry this 3 decades later. Don't do that to your kids. They're watching. Put it on the table, have a discussion. It is so empowering. And I trust me, your kids will be more financially aware going forward. I believe power comes from understanding where you are and where you're going. Too many people come into the conversation about financial freedom and just talk about this mythical future thing. Put a pin in the ground. Honey, we are right here. Right here. And oh, by the way, every month, let's look at it together. Make it a habit. Make it those discussions. Very important. I believe this is the root of the American economy, the world economy for that matter, is you earn, then you spend, you save what is left, if any, then you take a little piece of that savings and invest, if any, and then you repeat. This is the 40-40 mindset. This is the middle class mindset. You're just going to work. You're going to spend. You're going to work. You're going to spend because you can't save and you can't invest. You're just spending everything you have. And again, I've been very clear. I did this until I was 30 years old, until I had that wake-up call that I was being stupid. It's okay. Don't beat yourself up. We all do it. But again, if you can have these conversations with your kids, maybe they won't do it. Maybe. Let's have those discussions. I think it's important to acknowledge the middle class mindset. As your income expands, you just spend more. Stop it. I believe step 1 in this journey is baselining where you are. This needs to be a conversation with the heads of the household. You, if it's just you and your significant other, where are we, honey? What's going on? And this is not meant to tear anybody down. This is not meant to be a fight. This is just a recognition of where we are. If this step 1 causes financial issues, that's a problem. There are things going on other than spending. This should not be a big deal. It's like, hey, honey, this is what we spend. It's a fact. It's like a ledger in an accounting book. No judgment, just facts. You got to do this. And then I would ask you, if your kids are the right age, share it with them. Share them how much you pay on rent. Share them how much you have discretionary. Let them be a part of this journey. The conversations you have now will help your kids in the future. And that's what we're trying to do here. Let's set your kids up to be better than you and I were coming out of school. Wouldn't that be good? Look to understand what you can cut or reduce. Again, I spent 100% of our income until we were 30. And it wasn't until we had the recognition that we needed to save more so we can buy more that we started to have conversations about needs versus wants. Now, some people can hear that and think sacrifice. Well, that's the wrong mindset. Think delayed gratification. We delayed gratification for, in our case, 15 years. But boy, was it worth it. To be financially free at 45 and essentially buy 20 years, pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. to not have to be worried about our jobs in a recession, pretty awesome. It didn't feel good in the moment. I've told many of you about the stress we had, or the stress I had at many different times, but it's worth it. Get good at having these conversations, look at them monthly, really understand what's a need versus a want. At least ask yourself, is this a need or a want? Earning financial freedom is about time, duration, and daily choices. Man, it feels good to buy those new kicks, that new dress, that new watch. It feels good, doesn't it? Do you need those new shoes, the new dress, or the new watch? Or is it a want? This delayed gratification stuff takes time to build, to see the savings expand, to see discretionary income expand. That's the trick with this consumer economy, is they give you a little dopamine every time you leave the cash register. Yeah, I got it. I got a deal. I got a sale on my dress or my shoes or my watch. Instead of just sitting at home, working on yourself, doing something with the family, and letting that money stay in the savings or money market account for when you're ready to invest. Daily choices. I know it's not fair. It's not easy, but it is critical. And again, have these conversations with the family. This is the spreadsheet, kind of the first spreadsheet we're going to talk about. This is the simple one. I really look forward today. This is a free app on your phone, but the green cells are the variables, right? And then it's about, what does that thing cost? You're going to say, hey, this is $100. It cost our family 4.3 hours. And again, we will get into this spreadsheet will get more complex, and it's obviously not only 4.3 hours, because we don't spend gross, we spend net. We have discretionary, non-discretionary. But for now, this is a conversation to have with your kids. Your kids should think about, I'm asking mom and dad for a new phone. What does that mean? For some of you, a new phone might mean 6 hours. For some of you, it might mean 60 hours. I think your kids should know the difference. What does that mean for your family? I know if I was growing up and I really appreciated that, hey, we only made $24,000 a year, so asking for $100 this or that was a problem, I would have appreciated that. But I didn't know. Money was either there or it wasn't. And I didn't understand where it came from. It was a problem. This is a big chart, and it will be self-explained in the course. But basically, the circle is your discretionary income, right? Think about that. Or no, the circle, excuse me, is your net income, not gross, net after taxes. Here's the problem with this story. The blue is money you have spent before you work 1 hour. Let's just say you have $5,000 in net income after taxes. In this case, you're spending 81% of it, which is the number behind this chart, on things that are part of your budget: rent, food, car, healthcare, things like that. Which means this family only has 19% discretionary spending. That's pretty close to the razor's edge. When I was growing up, our little orange section, I bet you, was 1 or 2%. We were so close. My dad had to work every available hour because our blue, our fixed, our required spending was so high. When I was 30, I didn't have an orange cell. It was all blue because I would just spend whatever was there. It's not until you can expand that orange cell, need versus want, delayed gratification, right, that you can start marching towards financial freedom. And let's be clear, you are not financially free until this circle is entirely orange. The more blue you have, the more trouble you're in. The more orange you have, the closer you are. That's it. Your goal is to get this orange to be the entire circle. And if you do, congrats, you are financially free. So in the end, I'm creating this course for $99. You're in the course now to baseline your current financial realities. I want you to understand time, not price. And I want to have the platform so you can talk to it and improve your money and finances with the entire family. It really is about getting the kids to think about need versus want, time, not price, understand where the family is spending their money. So in the end, thank you for watching this. This is, I think, section number 2 or 3 of the course. Hopefully this is making sense, and we'll get into the spreadsheets shortly.